Hi everyone, Desi Boo here, and we are gonna get ready to paint and bring out the painter in you. I'm gonna do that by showing you this desert landscape. So I'm gonna be teaching you guys how to do it step by step, and we're gonna go over the materials really quick just to make sure that you guys are ready to go. You guys have everything you need to get started. So I'm gonna go over first the materials and the supply bags for anyone that may have popped over to Tia Chucha's and picked up a supply bag. So first you have your paintbrushes, your paints. You got white, yellow, red, blue, and black. And it could be any type of paint, watercolor, acrylic, tempera, any type of paint will work. So, and for the paper, I'm using watercolor paper. You can also use cardstock. If you have a canvas, that's perfect. So you're gonna also need a paint palette. We have palette paper here. It's disposable, or if you have an actual paint palette, I got another paint palette here. And then the last things you're gonna need is a cup with water to wash your brushes in between colors. And if you have napkins, I have my towel, my paint towel to wipe my paint on, and you're ready to go. So those are the supplies. So now we're just gonna dive in. So the first thing we're gonna start with is the background. So the background, we're going to use this thick brush. If you have a thick brush like this, that's what I like to call the background brush. So my students know this as the background brush. If you have two little skinny brushes, I actually tape mine together, so it works just the same. So what we're gonna start with first, the color you always wanna start with is white. So white is always the best base color, and I will explain to you why. We're just gonna go ahead and grab a clump of white paint and make a horizon line. That's where we want our sunset to start transforming from light to dark. So when we're painting this, you want to make sure that your paintbrush strokes are moving left to right. So you don't want to go like this or kind of scrunch it around. You just want to go left to right, and just bring it all the way down. Hopefully you can see it right now because it is white paint on white paper, but once we add the colors in, you'll see better the blending. So next, we're gonna start blending in the sunlight. We're gonna do the sunset going down. So there's two reasons why we're gonna do the bottom part of the sunset first. So the first reason is because we want it to dry faster, because we're gonna be doing more layers to the foreground, and we want it to be dry. So the second reason is because the colors on the bottom are lighter, and if we still have some paint left on our paintbrush, we don't want it to mess up any of the light colors. So the blue is we're gonna do that at the end on the top. And blue is a little bit darker, and we don't mind if it takes a while to dry because we're not gonna add any more layers to the top. So now that I have my white base in the center here, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm not gonna dip it in the water. I'm just gonna grab yellow. I still have some white left on my brush. And if you can see, the white paint that I just finished applying is still kind of wet. It's not dry yet. And that's gonna help my yellow blend into the white. You can see how soft it's blending in. I'm gonna bring the yellow down, down, down. So I'm gonna bring the yellow all the way down. Now you can see that instead of it being a light yellow blending into the white, now you can see mostly just the color yellow. The background is I think the most therapeutic part of the painting, because you're not really getting into detail yet. You can't get it wrong. You're just smoothing out the colors, and that's really relaxing. So while we bring down the yellow, we're gonna start blending in some orange. And how do we make orange? With yellow and red. I don't want it to be too dark, so I'm just gonna grab a tiny little bit. You can see how tiny bit of red I grabbed. And I'm just gonna start brushing it in to the yellow, and you'll see it start changing color. So now it's starting to turn orange. I'm gonna bring it up. I want it to seem a little hazy. In between, you could still continue to grab yellow and just go back and forth between dots of red and clumps of yellow. So bring it down to the bottom. And don't be shy on grabbing the paint. If don't worry about grabbing too much. When we're blending it, the more paint we have on our brush, the easier the colors are just gonna mesh together. So now I'm gonna add a little bit more red towards the bottom. Not the top, because I want this part to stay a little more yellow. And towards the bottom is when it's gonna start turning red. So I'm gonna keep the red additions on the bottom. So now I want it to get darker and darker. So now I'm just gonna grab even more red. You can see how much red I have on my brush now. And I'm gonna go all the way to the bottom. Also, I forgot to mention, I actually taped my paper down just to make sure that my paper is settled, and also at the end it gives a nice little frame when you take off the tape, and I kind of like that. So you don't have to do that, but if you want to, I think it adds a little extra sometimes. So we're adding the red as the very bottom color. This is the sun really setting down. So I want it to be as red as possible. So I'm just adding red, red, red. And then I can bring it back up. So the way I'm gonna blend it back into the orange is just by grabbing more yellow. And naturally, I still have red on my paintbrush. Notice I have not touched my water yet. I haven't washed my brush off yet. And I'm just gonna add yellow. And naturally, with the red still on my brush, it's gonna turn orange. So here you just keep going up and down. That's why I say it's so therapeutic, because it's so calm. You're just paying attention to your colors. So now I am gonna wash off my brush, because I wanna wash off as much of the red as I can, if not all of the red, because I'm gonna go back to the yellow to blend it in with the new orange that I just blended down into the red. So I washed off my brush. You see my brush, it has no red on it. Make sure it has no color. Give your paintbrushes a hug with your napkins. Squeeze all the water out. And now we're gonna go back and grab some yellow again. So now we'll start in the middle with the yellow. So we want it to be really bright. And then we're gonna bring it down into the orange we just made. And by not having any more red on my paintbrush, the yellow's gonna blend a lot easier with the orange. So now you can see there's a nice fade right here. And as we get higher, we're just gonna blend back into the colors that we made in the very beginning. So now I'm gonna wash off my brush again. because now I'm gonna go up higher and I'm gonna go back to the white. So where the white blends in with the yellow is where we're gonna bring our focus back. So I'm gonna grab some white, go over the white area that we already painted. I have some yellow left over on my brush, and it's just gonna blend into that light yellow. Grab a tiny bit of yellow, mix it into the white. It's gonna make a nice little blend of color right here. Grab some more yellow. So the background is the best part because everyone sees it differently. Everyone's background comes out different. Maybe they want more yellow in their sunset. Maybe they want more white, more orange. It's up to you. Whatever colors make you happy to stare at the most. This is your masterpiece. I'm just showing you how to flow it. So now we have the bottom part of our sunset done. So we wanted to do this first because remember we wanted to dry first because we're gonna come back to it and add layers. So now we're gonna work on the night sky, which is the color blue. I'm actually gonna flip my paper upside down because I want it easier for my hands to do the same effect I did with the red sunset. It'll be easier for me to do with the blue. I don't have to reach across my paper and maybe I'll mess up. So to blend it into the blue, I'm gonna grab white again. Start and towards the very top where your white starts to end. Bring the white up. We're bringing the white up because we want the white paint to be wet. Because the same thing we did with blending the yellow, we're gonna blend with the blue now. So now I'm gonna grab a tiny bit of blue, not a lot yet, just, you see I grabbed a tiny little dot, and my white paint is still wet. So when I add the blue, you see it's just gonna melt into the white paint. Now they're one. So as you get higher, you add more blue and the blue is gonna get darker and darker. I think now I won't be shy to grab a big chunk of blue. So with the big chunk of blue, I want it to be darkest at the top, or in this case the bottom, because I flipped my paper over. And I want it to be really dark, so I'm just gonna put only blue. I'm not gonna blend it with the white because I want it to be really dark blue. I want our painting, our stars to be bright. So I want the blue to be dark. So we have the blue, the dark blue right here. And as we get closer and back to the white again, then we can start adding some white paint into the blue. Now, I still have blue paint on my paintbrush, but I'm gonna add white. And naturally, the blue and the white are just gonna mix together, and it's gonna create a nice little blend. Don't forget to breathe. Take your deep breaths. Make sure you're calm, cool, calm, and collected. Grab some more white, bring it closer to the middle, just so you can see the color change. So now I'm going to wash off my paintbrush because I really want the white strip of my sunset to be very bright, so I need to wash all the color off of my brush. Make sure there's no leftover blue, no leftover yellow. Take off all the water so it doesn't mess up your paper. So now I'm gonna grab only white again. And I'm gonna go right in the middle. You see how you see kind of screechy lines here? We're gonna fix that now. So now, bring the white back, blend it back up. Now you can see that's a smoother blend. So it's a lot of back and forth when it comes to blending a sunset. So now I'm gonna wash this off. I have the white area the way I want it to look, but now I wanna make the blue area darker. So I'm gonna wash off the white because I want it to be as dark as possible. No more white, no more paint left on my brush. So I'm gonna grab only blue one more time. Do the same thing as I did earlier. Start at the bottom and just blend it back up. Ooh, that's pretty. Add a tiny dot of water, not a lot, a little dot. Barely touched the water, but I added a little bit of water. When you add a tiny dot of water to your paintbrush, it makes the colors just flow really soft across your paper. So now I have my full blend. Wash off your brush, take all the blue off, flip my paper back over. Voila, my sky is done. So I have my background color good to go. So for those of you that have your thick brush at home, or if you have your two skinny brushes that you tape together like I did, don't put it away yet. We're still gonna use our thick brush because now we're gonna move on to, this part is dry now, nice and dry. Touch it a little bit, make sure it's not wet anywhere. So this part is dry. You can see my blue area is still wet. So now we're gonna move on to the mountains in the background. So with that, we're gonna create our color. That's why I like to have the primary colors, which is blue, red, and yellow. And with the primary colors, you can create all of the colors. So to make the color brown, first you want to make purple. So how do we make purple? Blue and red. Blue and red make purple. I'm going to mix it first on my palette paper. So now you can see I made the color purple. Now I'm going to add yellow. So purple and yellow make the color brown. Bet you guys didn't know that, huh? So this looks kind of avocado-y brown. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna add some more, maybe I'll add some more red. So you keep mixing those three colors until you get the color you want for your mountains. Maybe you want your mountains lighter, maybe you want your mountains darker. I want my mountains a little lighter, so I'm actually gonna add some white into the color I just made, and now you can see the huge difference that the white makes. You wanna make enough of this color to have enough paint for your mountains to reach across your paper. So let's see, I like this color, but I wanted a little bit more orange, so I'm gonna add a little bit more red and yellow. More yellow. Yeah. I want to give that red rock effect, like in the real desert mountains. So now I have the color that I like. Even if it's not the same color as yours, whatever color makes you happy, that's the color that you're going to create. So now I have the color. So I'm gonna start towards the bottom. I don't want my mountains to be too high because then that's gonna be the main focus of the painting. I want my cactuses at the end to be the main focus, so I'm gonna do the mountains smaller so they're just in the background. So I'll start my mountain here, and mountains are a part of nature, and nature does whatever it wants. It does not have a specific shape. It is different every time, everywhere. So don't worry about shaping your mountains to look any specific way. Whatever way you like it. Do some mountains going down. So right now I'm just doing the top line of what I want it to look like. I'll do a little curved rock right here. Right now I'm focusing on the top, just the shape of it. Then I'll move to the other side, do another mountain here. A little lower, this one's higher. I'm gonna start this side of the mountain a little bit lower, just to, you know, create some dimension, just so you can see in your painting that like things are just, you know, naturally placed. It doesn't have to be a perfect even spacing, because again, in landscape you're painting nature, and in nature everything's perfect just by it being however it is. So however you create your mountains is perfect. So towards the bottom, I'm just gonna connect it. I'll do a little swoop. Whatever you wanna do to connect them down here. Now I have my mountain range. So now I'm just gonna go ahead, grab the rest of the color that I created and just color in the rest of the bottom of my mountains. Now if you wanna get a little fancy, you add a little darker tones. I'm gonna add the same colors I did before. Don't worry dipping the colors in every paint cup. We're getting wild with this paint. We're just being free. So I'm gonna mix all the colors. Again, I want like a dark brown because I'm gonna get a little fancy. So now I made kind of a darker color. Want it a little bit darker, add a little bit more blue. So with my darker color, I'm just gonna add some little shapes or lines anywhere I want, just to add some shadow, make our mountains look more real, some layers, some depth going on. And these mountains are really far away, so I can't see any of the detail, but I can see some shadow, so don't worry about perfection. Again, nature is perfect on its own. So there, I like my shadows. So now I'm gonna wash off all the brown. That's enough for the color brown. And actually, while my mountains dry, I'm going to untape my paintbrushes. If you were using a thick brush the whole time, don't worry about untaping it. Just clean it. Make sure your brush is clean. Every time you're done using a paintbrush, you always want to clean it completely and set it aside, because if your paintbrush is dry with paint in them, it's going to be a lot more difficult to use them again the next time. So I'm going to clean off both of my brushes, make sure they're really clean, they have no paint left inside of them. And since I taped these two together, this is going to be my thin brush. So I'll get rid of one And now I'm only going to use my thin brush, my detail brush. So before I go back to the lower part of our painting, now my sky at the top is dry. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to use this end of my paintbrush, not the brush, but this end. We're going to use it as kind of like a pen. So I'm going to dip this end into the white paint. You could dip it on your paper if you want. And you're going to just put some dots in the blue, and we're going to make some stars. So these are going to make some perfect circles when you use the back of your brush. So put them all in the blue, as many or as little stars as you want. And when you're doing your stars, you want to bring them down into the white. So you can see when the sun starts setting, that's when you start seeing the stars creep out or shine out. So you want to bring them down. So now, I have all my stars where I want them. I like them a lot. I added a little shooting star and a highlighted star here, and I'm going to show you how I did that. So with your shooting star, I'm still using the end of the brush, not the bristle part. And what I'm going to do, I dipped my end in the white paint. I'm just going to mark it here, and I'm just going to pull it. Pull it, and you just keep pulling it across until you have the shape or the direction. Maybe you want your shooting star shooting that way. Whatever direction you want your shooting star to go, that's how you're going to drag it and have it go. So I'm going to have it a little long. I want it to curve a little bit. And I'm just doing it with the end of my brush. So now I have the shape of my shooting star. So one more time, I'm going to grab another dot of white, add it to the tip of my shooting star. And there you go, you have your shooting star. So now I'm going to add, like you would call it the North Star. Maybe I will add it right here. I think that dot right there will be good to have a special star. So with the end, you're going to start in the middle, create a line up, start in the middle, create a line down in the middle, create a line to the left, one more time in the middle, and do a line to the right. Well, actually, depending on your camera, this is right and that's left. Either way, so now I have my 4 points. Now I'm going to do more lines in the middle, and boom, you have your star right there. So while my star's dry, I think my mountains are dry now. So now I can go back to the last and main layer of the focus of our painting. It's our cactus. So with our cactus, it's going to be the main shadow. And with our main shadow, we're going to use only the color black. So with the color black, I have my color. Don't be shy on grabbing a good amount. This paintbrush is small, so even if I grab a lot of black paint, it's going to be a little bit compared to if I grabbed a lot of black paint with this paintbrush. So with this black, I'm going to just do a black line at the very bottom. Just keep it going until your paint runs out. Ooh, I almost made it all the way across. So now flip the paintbrush over. I still got some more paint on it. And go back the other way. So I have a chunk of paint right here. I'm just going to use it to my advantage. I'm going to keep spreading it out back and forth until it's all used. I actually want to make it seem like if there's a hill in the shadow. So instead of it being straight, now that I have my straight line, I'm actually going to pop up a little hill right here, just to give it some more dimension, make it more alive, keep it less perfect looking. So now that gives my land a little bit more movement. So with the black, I'm going to continue making some shadows. I'm rubbing my black right now on my palette paper because I specifically want to make my paintbrush straight. So if you can see, I want my paintbrush to be like a straight line. So by moving my paintbrush this way, smooth it out, and then turn it around, smooth it out, it's gonna make like a straight line. So with my line brush right here, I'm gonna make some little bushes using the very tip of the brush. So I'm not gonna use the whole brush, I'm only gonna use the edge. I'm gonna pretend it's like a pen or a pencil and use the very tip of the corner of the brush. And with that, I'm gonna make some bushes, and I'm just gonna fan it out with the tip of my brush, make some lines. I like a bush right here. I think that looks cool. I'll do another bush on the other end the same way. Make sure your brush is flat so you can use it as like a pen or a pencil. And just start fanning out with the tip of it, making some bushy looking shadows. You can make them as big or as tall as you want them to be. I want this one to be kind of tall. So I'm gonna do one more right here. And I'm putting mine right here. I want my cactus to be right here, and I want a little bush to be right at the bottom of my cactus. So I'm just gonna add another little fan bush right here. So once all the black dries, it's all just gonna blend together. You won't be able to tell where the bottom of the bush is. If you like mess up, you won't be able to see nothing. So now we're gonna draw our cactus. However tall you want your cactus to be this tall, you want it to be this tall, or maybe you want it short. It's your cactus, it's your landscape, whatever you want your cactus to look like. So I'm grabbing a chunk of black, I'm just rubbing it on my palette paper just so I don't have too much on my brush. And you're gonna choose, how tall do you want your cactus? I want my cactus to be, I really like how it looks on this one, so I'm gonna do it a similar height. So I'll have my cactus be this tall. So you're gonna just draw, you can do your paintbrush flat. You're just gonna draw a straight line all the way down. And just keep going over the line until it's black and no streaks are showing. So in nature, there's all kinds of cactus. Cacti. There's thick cactus, there's skinny cactus. Nature does not judge. Whatever your cactus looks like, that's what it's meant to be. So don't worry. So now I have the main line for my cactus. So now we're gonna add some cactus arms. I'm actually gonna use this part of my paintbrush. Now I'm going to do kind of a little curve just because I want the top of my cactus to be more round. than flat as to when I made my line like this. So now I'm happy. The top of my cactus line is a little round. I like it. Flatten this out. So now let's see, where do we want our arms, our cactus arms. And you can do as many or as little cactus arms. I'll start with the little one up here. I want to use my brush, the side of the brush, because when I press it down, it'll be easier to control the brush. So I'm just going to curve it into the black, do it over again, just make sure it's nice and pretty. There, my cactus already has one arm. It's coming to life. Let's see, I'm going to do a bigger one up here. I'll make it come out. Another arm. I'll bring this one a little lower. So feel free to get unique. However, whatever kind of arms. Maybe you want your cactus to be waving at an animal it sees in the distance. I don't know. It's your art piece, so let it represent you. So I'm just gonna keep drawing some arms. I'll do, maybe I'll do another arm right here. Yeah, I like that. And then one more right here. So I like this cactus. I think I'm happy with the arms that I placed on the cactus. I like it. So I'm gonna leave it like this for now. Now I'm gonna draw another cactus in the distance. So if you wanna create something and make it look like it's in the distance, like if it's far away, you want to make it look smaller. The closer it is, or the bigger it is, the bigger it is, that's how close it is. The smaller it is, it's going to make it seem far away. So say even if you draw even birds in the background, the tinier the birds you draw, the further they are. The bigger the birds you draw, the closer they are. So right now we're going to do a cactus far away in the distance. So is it going to be big or small? It's going to be small because we want it to be far away. So I'll do it right here because we have some open space here. So I'm going to start. So when we did the big cactus using the brush, I'll do an example on my palette paper. So when we did the big cactus, we used our paintbrush flat, like this, and it made a fatter line, a thicker line. But now, with the smaller cactus, we're gonna use our brush another way. I'm gonna flatten it. Make sure your paintbrush is flat. Flatten out on both sides, and we're actually going to use our brush this way instead of this way. We pulled it down, now we're going to use it this way. So we're going to turn it on its side, and now it's going to make a skinnier line. You see the difference in the thickness? This one's a lot skinnier when I have my paintbrush this way, and then when I turn it flat, the line is a lot thicker. So now I want a skinny line, so I'm going to turn my paintbrush sideways. So choose first, before you start, choose however long or tall you want your cactus in the distance. I want it to be this tall. So I'll start from the top and bring it down. So don't worry about the screech lines, because it's all the color black and we can just fill it in, and you won't notice a thing. So now I'm happy with the height of my cactus. I like where it is. So the same as our big cactus, we're gonna start drawing some arms. So where do we want our arms? I'll fix the top of this a little better. Take out any screech marks. Yes. So remember, we're using the sideways shape of our brush because we want some skinny lines. So wherever you want your arms, just start creating some arms. There's one. Grab some more black. Add another arm right here. Yes, yes. And just keep going until you like the look of your cactus. Maybe you only want your cactus to have one arm. That's okay. Maybe you want it to have 100. If it fits, then that's perfect. Let's see, maybe I'll add, I'll add a couple more. Do one more right here. And maybe one more right here. I like it. So now I have the shape of my cactus. I'm gonna go one step further, and the same way I added my bushes on the bottom, I'm gonna add some cactus flowers to my cactus. So again, wherever you want your flowers, they don't need to be perfectly placed anywhere in a certain pattern. Wherever you want your flowers, first you're going to start from the inside of the line you already made, and you're just going to make some lines coming out. And we're starting on the inside because we just want the top of the fan out to come, and it really doesn't matter how it looks in here because it's all black, and once it dries, you won't be able to see anything. So there's one of my cactus flowers. So once you got the method of creating your cactus flower, we're just gonna keep going until we like how our cactus looks. So I'll add another one here. Anywhere you want your cactus flowers to be. I like it. I'll add another one. Actually, I like it just those two. So now I'll do the same thing to my cactus in the distance. I'll add, starting inside of the black line, just make some little tiny lines. When you're doing it tiny, make sure that your hand is barely touching the paper. You don't want to have a heavy hand where it's like meh, meh. You want to do it very light, where it's barely touching, because it's going to be really small. So now that you have the method, now you can just create your flowers wherever you want. So I will do another flower right here. And then I'll do another flower in here. My cactus look happy. So now we're gonna take a look at it overall. Maybe want to add some more bushes to our shadow ground. I'll add another bush here. Go ahead and add some little lines. Make it look like there's just some nature all over the place. And once you have your shadow layer done and you're happy with how it looks, we have created our desert landscape masterpiece. But don't go yet, because we have yet to do the most important part of our painting. Some of you might know what's coming. Some of you know what the most important part is. But the most important part of our painting is our signature. So our signature, you can write your initials, maybe the first letter and last letter, or the first letter of your first and last name, or if you have a signature, we're gonna do it in the bottom right corner of our art piece. So we can do it any color that we have here, or we can make our own color. I'm gonna do my signature purple. I don't have any purple on my painting and I want some purple. So I'll do my signature purple. So remember, purple and red, blue and red. Mix them together on my palette paper. I want a light purple, so I'm gonna add some white. Mix, mix, mix. You see that light purple coming to life? Smooth out my brush. Just back and forth. All right, I have my color. Now I'm gonna smooth out my paintbrush because I want it to be flat, because I'm gonna use it as a pencil or a pen. So now in the corner, I have my color. I have my paintbrush flattened. I'm just gonna go ahead and carefully, you could do it slowly, take a deep breath before. We want it to look pretty. And we're just gonna slowly create our lines for our signatures. And the reason why we want to do this so carefully is because unlike nature, a signature already has an identity. So we want it to look exactly like how we want it to look. So we want to be very careful. So now I finished my signature. And there we have our art piece. Before and after. So I'm going to show you how it looks on the main screen. Hang it everywhere. Where are you going to put it? In your bedroom? In your bathroom? In your kitchen? Outside in the backyard? Ooh. So have fun. Enjoy painting, enjoy blending. Make sure you're going left and right when you're doing your background. You want your sky to be nice and smooth. I hope you had fun. I really, really want to see your paintings. I want to see how they came out. I want to see what your cactus looks like. So please post your artwork. I'm really, really excited, and I hope you had a good time. I really had fun, and thank you so much for letting me bring out the painter in you. So